Order Commissioners Court meeting. It's coming in from the recess from yesterday's meeting. I think we have one item to discuss, 1.5, update discussion regarding the current status of FY 2023-2024 budget. And I guess we're looking at two things, where we can increase revenue or where we decrease expenses. On the revenue side, the obvious is raising taxes. The other thing that Katie mentioned is that housing inmates, we could raise that fee a little bit, which brings in a lot of revenue. Housing out of county inmates.
But I think we just went from 50 to 65 today.
Yeah, but there's a, I don't know what the rate is there for the market rate. We don't want to get too high, but at the same time, that's, a revenue thing. And there's a little bit of flood control stuff we could probably knock out, but none of these are going to move the budget that I see.
It wouldn't impact it a lot. And, my thoughts on this is, we've had, since I've been on the board, this is my 5th budget. The first year we kept the rates the same, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, the same tax rate the first, 4 years ago. The last 3 years it's been the no new revenue rate. And then you throw in this inflation, there's no way you can keep on going to no new revenue rate, no matter what you do. And that's, everybody realizes that, I think. We're the bottom rung on the ladder. We're down here. This is tripping down from Washington. I told several people this morning, 3 years ago we were exporting oil. Now we're buying it. Enemies and stuff. That drives everything. Look at Road and Bridge. I mentioned the sheriff yesterday. He can tell us about how many gallons of fuel he can use a year, but he doesn't know what it's going to cost. Kelly doesn't either. And that just drives everything. So it's a tough one.
Yes, it is.
And we're between a rock and a hard place. So that's where we're at.
I wish I had a magic wand or some wonderful solution. I don't really understand exactly what you're saying. And I accept our taxes are going to go up, and certainly they should, because the voters spoke on the animal control shelter.
Right.
So for whatever that is, I'm not sure what that carve out is.
That's like 6 cents.
Not 6.
I mean, 0.06.
0.006.
0.06.
Just over a half a penny.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the, past couple of years, we've done our best to keep taxes as low as possible.
We have.
Which is good. I think we all want that. But if you get to a point, sometimes you just gotta raise taxes, And to me, somewhere in the 2 to 3 cent range, makes sense. But a lot of it is, we're gonna get hit really bad next year if we don't do it. I mean, so that's just kind of where I am. I just don't see that we can cut a whole lot out of here. I think we're, at least the 3 here today, are pretty committed on the law enforcement increases and the road
Definitely
increases.
committed on both of those.
So,
Those are our prime functions, prime responsibilities. If we fail to deliver
I've yet
law and
to
order or keep our roads in shape, then why are we here?
yet to hear anybody say otherwise that's out there. Our public, they realize they dial 911, they want somebody to show up. They don't want our sheriff department depleted because he can't fill open spots. And that's understandable. Road and Bridge, I've told Kelly and her department make us look good over the years, but they're stretched awful thin now. And they need help. They need help.
Kelly made some good concessions yesterday.
Oh, without doubt.
Those
They've
are
been
greatly
over back.
appreciated.
Well, I have something. I went back
Yeah, boy.
and we re-looked at our
Cool.
our budget.
Yeah.
I've got 3 copies for you. You'll just kind of see. This would be probably the simplest way to go. This is out of our special projects that a long time ago, I think Bob Reeves and Jonathan, I think, came up with this for total reconstructions. Because when you go to do those, it is so time consuming and your staff gets stuck on one road for like 2 months where we can move along on the stuff that isn't a total reconstruction. We had 2 different vendors for 2 different projects, and the one vendor we've used before, they did Greenwood Forest, really, really good construction company. But we had a new one that we didn't know anything about. They were a nice enough group of people, but we had a lot of problems with what they did. And when we went in there to tidy it up and make it the way we needed to do the chip seal, we were on that road for 3 weeks. That's not the intention.
You don't have this,
That was Skyline Drive you're
Yes.
referring
can
to, right?
Yes.
you, Bob, have this?
Basically,
Okay,
you
thank you.
reconstructed the reconstructed road.
Yes. So
Amazing.
this is a really important line item, and we want to continue with it because it does make a difference. I think since we started doing this, I think we've done about 20 miles of reconstruction. But for us to have to go in behind a contractor, the possibility of that, it just kind of kills us on all the other roads that are being proposed for a chip seal. So we would like to offer this amount back to the court. Still leave the line item because we will, the
Right.
following budget year, we're gonna fill it with this amount, but we would do it for this year. And it's a pretty sizable amount of money that we're willing to give back that amount, and then the option of freezing those 3 positions. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that we were willing to do that. On the second page, we're not really too much in charge of this, and I overheard the auditor say, yes, that $1 million was taken out for that drainage project. On our end, when we went into N-code yesterday, it still was showing the little over $1 million. But I heard Tanya say that I think all that got put back in there was like 250,000. No, not even that.
Not that much,
Okay.
no. And that's on the commissioners. You wouldn't, I don't know that you would have access
We
to
don't.
it. And departments got frozen
Yeah.
the minute y'all's time went up.
Yeah. So that second page is now the bottom one is the one that I just discussed before the meeting about Goat Creek cutoff and the drainage. So that could be another one, like I said, don't want it to go away, but if you wanted to zero that one, and then the special project one that's road reconstruction, we would be willing to give that money back for this year. And like I said, I know it doesn't cover the total deficit,
Really
but it's a
helps.
pretty sizable amount of money that I think we all agreed at Road and Bridge yesterday when I went back that this wouldn't put anybody in a bad situation, but the following year we would need to come back and put money in it. So
Kelly,
anyways,
this won't have any impact on your normal chip seal program. I mean, you've got a lot on your board.
yeah,
You're in
no,
the conference room and-
those are all emulsions in aggregate,
Yeah.
and those are separate line items that we will not touch. Because that is
Yeah.
our chip seal program there.
I defer to the other gentleman because it'd be real easy for me to say I accept this because
Yeah.
I just got 2 of my roads reconstructed and that's all that was in the
Yeah.
program for this year.
Yeah.
And you guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So thank you very
Yeah.
much. But I do think that they probably need to just stay focused on the standard chip seal
Oh, sure.
maintenance work.
Yeah.
We can probably take this
Exactly.
down the road for.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Well,
and then next
and they're
year we go
understaffed
back
right
in.
now.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
the other-
gonna, they're not gonna get the chip seal work done this,
Yeah.
on the long list.
Yeah.
We know that.
But this special projects like I said, I think it was when Bob was a commissioner and Jonathan, they had come over and said, hey, we've got an idea that may help, and it has been a great thing. I mean, we've accomplished a lot. But I think as short-staffed as we are and trying to keep up with what a contractor is doing over there, and we're trying to get other roads ready, that maybe the break will be good for the 1 year,
Yeah.
and then we go right back into it. But totally up to you, but that's what I have to,
So those two
Offer.
items are 527,000.
yep. So,
There's one more also, if y'all want to hear it.
Sure.
Let me tell the judge, see when you're out here, we got that.
Reagan sent an email yesterday and said that based on yesterday's court meeting, that he could cut the 40,000 for site cleanup down to $7,000. And so he would we could pull out 33,000 on site cleanup.
That's under environmental health? Is that right?
Yes,
Or, you said Reagan?
Reagan, yeah. It's the site cleanup.
Yeah.
I hate to do that.
Well, what do you
We did one real successful program down in Center Point. I don't know if that was last year or the year before. And the idea was then to, recoup the expenditures from the ultimate, put a lien on the property, and I believe it was gonna be sold because, it's in their arrears by I don't know how many years on taxes. So, I would like to keep some seed money to keep doing those projects, because trust me, there's plenty more
Yeah.
that should be done, but, I don't know.
got 20,000 out of it? I mean, 40 in it right now?
Yes.
It all depends on the project,
Right.
Yeah.
20 doesn't go very far these days,
I know.
but it's better than nothing.
Oh.
I don't know how that works if we ever get our money back from the sale of a property.
We should. Maybe
Can we apply that to doing more is kind of the question. Or does it just come into the general fund?
It goes to the general fund. Okay. Anything else?
So can I just clarify one more thing, just to? So if, I just want to clarify that what I think I heard was what I heard. So the 500,000 for Senate Bill 22 for the sheriff's office is going back into general fund. We're not holding the rate, we're not holding the payment of the raises that were requested, and everyone realizes that we still run a risk that it may not be funded.
Yeah.
Or we may have something in there and it changes, and somebody getting a raise, we might have to switch money around at that point. Okay,
We understand that.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. What, can I ask, what about the, in terms of SB 22 and the other areas where we might be able to use some of that money for attorneys,
You don't,
prosecutors?
so,
Are we gonna be able to use any of it? That's kind of my question.
yes, but the legislation does not authorize the Commissioners Court to reduce the salaries of the prosecutors, investigators by the amount that is added to their salaries, so. I'll have to-
Wondering if there's any other way we can make use of those.
So for the prosecutors, each of the prosecutors' offices gets to apply for the grant, but it can only be used for a very limited purpose. For example, for my office, it can only be used for my assistant prosecutors and my investigator. I could add a victims coordinator in there, but we already have one that is a grant-funded position. So when I do make application in January, it can only be used for salaries for those purposes. I can't use it like the sheriff's department can use it for equipment, ammunition, vehicles, things like that, after that minimum salary is made for their folks. But we weren't given that same permission in ours, so.
You didn't have the leeway.
Pardon?
You didn't have the leeway that.
That's right. So I couldn't look at our budget and plan to use it for those things, which I would have been glad to, because it's a
Yeah.
significant amount of
If there's
money.
any creative way that we
Yeah.
could capture more of those funds, I'm all for it, but I understand the difficulty.
It's real limited, and I'll show you guys that after January, once it gets funded on our end,
Okay.
and ask the court to create a budget for it. But if you have any questions in the meantime, I'm glad to visit.
Let me ask you this, Sheriff, have we factored in Lone Star funding, additional Lone Star funding? Is that part of our budget or not really?
That is, but it specifically has to be used for that, Operation Lone Star. That's real strict with that, and also Stone Garden.
Okay. But is it in the budget, I guess?
No, because we don't have the grants.
We haven't received it yet.
And the history behind that is, last year, I think we asked for a whole lot more than what was funded.
Correct.
And while we're expecting more this year, we still don't know what the actual funding amount will be.
But that will be an increased additional revenue, hopefully.
Correct.
How much are we talking about? What is that number?
This year,
You think we might get?
We put in a grant application for about 1.7 million. We did a similar one last year. They cut it back to 667,000, mainly because they removed all the vehicles due to the fact of manufacturing issues that they were having. We're hoping that will be a little bit more increase because of the availability of Tahoes that we've put in there. We're hoping for a little bit more funding. But like I said, that equipment has specific use.
Sure.
It has to be used for Lone Star type operations, which is really
I just wanted to get a feel for the
Yeah.
magnitude of how much we might be able to receive, because it kind of goes towards,
All of it.
it kind of goes towards how much of a reserve fund we want to have. And, you know, when we start talking about raising taxes by how much, you know, if we talked yesterday about how we frequently don't spend the whole budget.
But it's a reimbursement grant, and if we don't spend the money, we're not gonna get that much money back. So it's not, you've got a set amount, and anything you don't spend comes back to us. We did, we requested that they start putting an indirect rate in, and they did, and I think that was about 30,000, 40,000.
Yeah, so we did a new term I learned from Tanya, de minimis. We did add that into there's an operational section for accounting and auditing and stuff, and we requested a 10% for that to help offset the cost of their office.
I mean, I guess
And the treasurer's office, and Heather's office, and just all the indirect expenses.
So we'll see what Lone Star, I know they've tried that in the Stone Garden grants, the federal side of grants, and they didn't award that, because I think Kimball County, when they did their Stone Garden grant, I think they went to like 7%, and they didn't award it. So it's in there. We'll see what happens.
So, help me understand this then. Are there things that you've already put in the budget that might qualify? Or not really?
No, basically, this is kind of, everything that we would purchase under Lone Star is kind of a side purchase. It's not, we can't use the money to supplement anything that we currently have in our budget. Like, I can't use the money for the enterprise program. We can buy a Tahoe with it, but fuel and operational costs for that particular Tahoe for Lone Star type activities, which is really any criminal interdiction related back to the border, we can use that for. But no, we can't use it to reduce certain parts of our budget. It's kind of a side deal.
I had to ask.
Now, it's one less Tahoe we might have to purchase later on under the enterprise program, and it's paid in full. So one day that is really straight revenue when we have to turn that Tahoe in, because that money didn't come from our general fund budget that we use for enterprise. Am I saying that correctly? So one day it could actually become revenue. So.
I think we need a whole bunch of Tahoes.
Okay. So, on Thursday, will we begin to start having some tax numbers? As what a tax, where we possibly need to be?
I will not have them before a weekend to sit at my desk and work.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if we even need to be on Thursday.
And as far as the rate, once you're comfortable with the capital improvement type of debt financing, then I can finalize the rate. As I said yesterday, the no new revenue rate is calculated, but that really doesn't mean anything because of the new debt, one being what the voters approved in the bond election, But the biggest part, I have to calculate what the debt payment's gonna be to come up with the rate. And the auditor in my office needs a firm number that, yes, this, finance it for this long at this projected interest rate. Then I can finalize our truth in taxation rates.
So
Yeah,
we
I
have to
think
have
we're-
that discussion
Oh, we're pretty good, I mean, well, are we good on the issuing the debt for the road and bridge and IT
And the boat.
and the boat?
then. 31,000.
I mean, to me, that makes sense. The boat, I'm not 100%,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
For the 7 years.
It makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Is there any argument to reduce it a little bit and
If you
go
reduce
for
it,
everything?
yeah, I mean, how much is that debt gonna be?
The debt right now, as it stands, it's somewhere around 500,000, I believe. Or the debt or
Yeah,
the
amount of
payment?
The debt,
The debt is looking at 3.335.
3.3 million
That's with road and bridge,
in IT.
And IT.
and the boat.
in the boat. That is all of her list that she has.
Yeah, I'm kind of that because it's the best way to get that equipment and road and bridge needs and other equipment, so.
Do we have any idea yet on interest rates for that?
It was I think it was 4 to 4.5% based on what year. You know, it's scheduled to where a certain amount of it will be paid off, mostly the IT stuff in 3 years. I think the boat's in that too. And then there's a couple of Kelly's items that will be paid off in 5 years.
So-
And
so-
the remainder would be 7 years.
So the total was what,
3.3 million.
3.3 million. So what's the debt repayment in the budget for that roughly?
It is somewhere around 500,000. It's lumped into this in your summary under 65. That's actually paying for 2 notes there. So the total there is 910, so I want to say it was a little bit more than the other one. So it's somewhere around 500,000. And I can run and get my schedule if y'all would prefer.
I think that's fine.
It's showing 400,000. Looking at the right one.
It's Fund 65.
It's under the debt. It's the 4th one down or next
Yeah,
to the bottom.
65.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So it's included in the 913, but that includes the notes from 2021.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm with you.
And then the expense part of it is included in capital projects, the 3rd one down, number 16, on the bottom section.
Right.
No, I'm good with the budget. I don't see where we're gonna get everything. I appreciate the 520,000 we got here, and a little bit off of Reagan. That's 550,000 we cut out. That helps. Do we need to meet Thursday? I mean, my feeling is we need to let Tanya
Yeah.
do the numbers.
I think you're probably right. Let's
Exactly.
need to wait and see what Bob's numbers look
Yeah.
like.
But I don't,
Give us some options, consider how much we want to chew into our reserves.
right,
Because that's what we're really talking about here.
right. How much you raise taxes, how much reserves. Those two items. All right. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned. And we don't need to.